So, hello and welcome everyone to our first virtual show and share session. Hope you're all sitting comfortably at home. Firstly, what we want to do is just do a huge thank you to everybody. You're doing great work. You're keeping the service moving in these uncertain times, which is really important. And just thank you to everybody. So those of you that have been attending regularly will know that these sessions are about us showing what progress we've made on the project, having discussions, giving feedback. As now we've gone virtual, we're asking people to post your questions in the chat tab on this Hangouts. And also you can put questions on the benefits and housing needs Google Plus community. And also if anybody has struggles to do either of those, give me a shout. I'm happy to field any questions that you have. So this is the project ambition, particular emphasis on the words at the bottom, highlighted in orange, making sure that our service is easily understood, fair, accessible and beneficial to our residents. So when we first looked at the project and the vision for the service, these are a couple of quotes from Jennifer, our head of service. In particular, the one on the left, everything that everybody does should be geared around preventing homelessness, has become a bit of the mantra for the project. So this is detailing the service we would like to be offering. Those at the top here in orange are customers that we think should be able to go through the service with light touch, digital tools, and a real element of self-service. We've got those in the middle in the light blue that need some form of support and coaching and nudging, but are still able to do a lot of the work themselves. And then that frees our staff time up for those at the bottom there that have got multiple and complex needs, so that we can provide a much more holistic support. Those sections and colours then translates onto our roadmap for the service, tube map for the service. So those I was talking about at the top in the orange, follow the orange line. We just draw attention to some of the new stops that have come onto the map recently. Firstly, the information advice. This is for anybody. They might just come into the service for information advice. Doesn't necessarily, you might even just end your journey there. Those with self-service tools and in lower need will carry along the orange line. The other two lines, the light blue and the dark blue, are for people that need a bit more support. And you'll see there's an optional additional support being added for crisis. This will allow us to provide support specific to whatever crisis the customer is in at that time. That's if they are in fact in crisis. So it's an optional stop. So those then travel along the light blue line. We create a shared plan, we check in and nudge. And those going along the dark blue line with multiple and complex needs, we would look to create more of a multidisciplinary plan and collaborate with different services. So underpinning all this work we're doing, these are the service principles.
Cool, thanks Claire. So I'll give you a little bit of an update about where we're at, what we've been up to over the past couple of weeks. So we had a plan, it was a great plan. I'm sure you'll all be aware we're working on a couple of things. So single view, we were scaling that across the service. The information and evidence tool, again, we were thinking about how to scale that to live in the service. We've been working on some prototypes of a shared plan and understanding of residents' vulnerability and assets. We had 5 weeks to go. But as we know, the world has changed unrecognizably in the past couple of weeks, and you're doing an amazing job to continue to deliver the service in really demanding times. So we've slightly reshuffled and moved our efforts to deliver those things that will help you the most in delivering the service at the current time. So you'll get your usual updates today. We'll let you know about what's happening in shared plan, about info and evidence and single view. But first we're going to start with a couple of new updates. So there's been a few people talking about the SMS tool, so we're going to tell you what we've been working on around that. And also a new thing that we have been prototyping in the last couple of weeks around uploading and sharing documents. So during these, we're going to be talking about minimum viable products. So what we mean when we say that is this is a product that will meet a need. It is built to be safe and secure, and we'll keep learning through testing, but it's definitely not all of the features, and it might not even be the long-term solution, but it will work for now.
Hello, so SMS tool is back with a vengeance. So obviously, as most of you know, we've been working on a prototype with the SMS tool, and that was mainly focused around PHPs and shared plans. We were testing that with a few offices across the service. And now, as everyone is moving to remote, we are looking at rolling that out across the whole service. So we really just need to make sure that we are building something that enables housing officers to support residents with their PHP actions or any actions that they need to carry on doing. And then also to kind of enable officers to maybe ask for evidence for like documents and things like that for applications, and to start following up with residents using SMS.
Okay, so potentially there's many more residents that are going to be messaged now. To reduce clutter, we've made a small UI change. Basically what it is we're only going to show you the residents you've messaged as a default view. If you need to find someone else, you can still use the find contact box up there on the left, and that'll show everyone. But yeah, we'll show this cut down view for starters. Yep. As far as the roadmap's concerned, now we're just making sure we get this thing rolled out securely to all the staff in the service, and that we're capturing feedback so we know what you need. Next, we're going to add a reference number when you add a contact so that you can search by reference number. And then later on, we'll decide if we need to invest further in this tool or if an existing product addresses these needs better.
Okay, and now for something a bit new around uploading documents. So if we cast our minds back 10 days ago, the HSC was still open and residents were still able to come in, bring in documents, get them scanned and uploaded to their case on UH. And so now that we've moved to working remotely, we want to think about what does this service look like remotely? How can we enable residents to securely share their documents with Hackney, and for officers to be able to attach those to their case. So for residents, this is important. If they're providing evidence, they want to know that they can keep their case moving forward, and the need for officers to be able to access all those documents in a standardized way so they're not asking residents for the same information twice. So at the moment, we're looking particularly at benefits team and how you'd be able to like add supporting evidence to like a change in circumstances. But I'm sure there's other scenarios and use cases across like housing register, homelessness application, and many others as well.
So we've created an app that allows residents to upload documents to Hackney. They can label these documents, say what they are for, add their contact info, that sort of thing. Staff can then log on and view what documents have been uploaded, or they can download them to put them in the appropriate systems, attached to cases, that sort of thing. And then, yeah, this slide here, it's just showing kind of the staff view. So you'll be able to see, as I say, who's uploaded the documents, what they're for, that sort of thing. As far as the roadmap for this product's concerned, we're just looking at making it usable now. We've only been building it the last few days, so just about there, ready for testing. Next, we'll see if this meets resident and staff needs, whether we actually need it or if email's just as good. Then if there are, if we decide that it's necessary, we'll prioritise changes, any changes that we need, roll them out to the service, and then later on down the track, we could maybe link these document uploads to single view, put them in the shared plan, that sort of thing.
So building a shared plan. So we're still continuing with prototyping the shared plan tool. So we've onboarded a further 5 officers. And we are really looking at trying to start sharing those shared plan links with residents now, as we've now got that live and you can share that over text. So what we've been learning is obviously now in this new remote world that a lot of officers are very keen to use the share plan as they think it'll be really useful. And also a lot of officers are seeing a lot of use in being able to collaborate over the share plan together and kind of like mean that they won't have to be back and forth on emails. So we've been iterating the design, and the main focus has been trying to improve the design for residents. So this is what it previously looked like. It was a little bit skinny, and the text was a little bit squashed. And this is what it now looks like. Ta-da! So we've just made some improvements to making the goal a little bit more obvious and changing the copy to call that a current goal, so that you're then just setting one goal for now. We've also looked at adding a date so that residents are aware of when that action needs to be due, and that makes that more compliant with the PHP. And we fix the spacing so that the actions are easier to read. Our next steps for that will be just monitoring how residents are using that and getting feedback from officers. And then we'll just continue prioritising future features. We've already got a backlog of things that you've already started saying that you'd like to do. And then we just look at how we can integrate that with current ways of working and future ways of working.
So with information and evidence, we've been making progress on the waiting time tool and our updates to website content. So with the waiting time tool, we're preparing for the final stages before launching the tool publicly. We have some security and accessibility assessments booked in for the next few weeks. We have some final content changes to make, and we started thinking about which pages we'd like the waiting time tool to sit on. With our website content, we now have new content, which hasn't been launched yet, but we're preparing to launch at the same time as the waiting time tool. And that content sits on the housing register page, the housing options and advice page, and the East London Lettings Company page as well. So that's the page that residents visit when they go to make a bid. So right throughout the customer journey there, at different points, we're getting consistent messaging to residents. And one of the things that we've been learning about the housing needs web pages while we've been making these changes is that there's quite a lot of content on the website. So we have about 20 different housing needs web pages. There's quite a lot of duplication of information. And also the way those pages are arranged doesn't always make sense. So today I'm going to be asking for your help in completing an online card sorting activity. And how this works is you'll be invited to participate in the activity. You'll be shown 20 cards, with each one having a different housing needs webpage as its title. You'll be asked to put these cards into groups that make sense to you, and you can make as many groups as you like. The activity should take between 5 to 15 minutes to complete. And what it will do is it will really help us to start thinking about how we can better structure our web pages so they make a bit more sense for residents. So for that, please keep an eye out for Claire's email, which we'll be sending out after this session. And in terms of next steps, we plan to launch the waiting time tool and the new online content over the coming weeks. We're putting in place metrics to monitor how the tool is being used, and we've started to pull together all the work that we've been doing on this over the last few months.
Hi, so for single view, we have completed a jigsaw spike, which is just a little sort of easy proof of concept to see that we can actually pull out documents from Jigsaw. And it's not quite available yet for all users. We're going to be using this sort of upcoming sprint to make it production ready, and this will enable you to look at all the documents that, that you could access through all the different systems on single view, and that will enable you to stop relying on VMware and you could work from anywhere.
So on the user interface side of single view, we've made more information available. So now application status and bedroom requirements can be seen in housing register information panel.
Last week we did an internal accessibility assessment on single view. We had 14 issues highlighted, 9 highs, 2 mediums and 3 lows. And one of the reasons why we do accessibility assessments is so that we can ensure that our web content meets the required standards, so a wide range of people can use the system with disabilities. I've done 2 accessibility assessments over the last 2 weeks, and a couple of key patterns are emerging. So my learnings from this is that we can kind of make the accessibility assessment a little bit more fluid if we address like headings and page titles, and if any pages open in new windows, just make sure that the user's informed. And then in our next sprint, we plan to address the highs. And in terms of onboarding, we have some exciting news. So we've onboarded all of housing benefits and housing needs officers. If anyone doesn't have access, just email myself or Glyn and we will sort you out with access. The last cohort got onboarded last week, Wednesday, and as you can see on the graph, we have a huge spike of page views. On average, per week, we're getting about 100 page views per day, so that's quite good compared to the last show and tell. We want to let everyone know that we're still here to help and support them, so we have a help session booked in for this afternoon if anyone needs any remote help. Otherwise, you can use the feedback form on the top of Single View or just email myself or Glyn. And then next, so our next sprint is our final sprint. So we're really focusing on security and robustness. We'll continue to support our single view users, but we're really going to be working on end-to-end testing. So making sure that any new development teams who pick up the project can easily start working on single view. We have a penetration test booked in for today. So this is making sure that single view is secure and robust. And then we're going to be working on those high outcomes from the internal accessibility assessment that we mentioned earlier.
Cool. So that is your short and sweet show and share for today. If you have any questions, please hang around, stay on the line, and we'd be happy to answer any of those. Other than that, Soraya and Single View team have a drop-in call at 2 p.m. today if you have any questions about Single View, and also look out for Claire's email around the card sorting activity with Chris to help with the website content. Other than that, we will be around on the Google Plus community. So thanks so much for dialing in.